seen the first part, you haven't seen the best part. The adventure continues in Superman 2.
Hey everyone, welcome back to part 2 of the Superman series, I guess. I feel bad that last time I was complaining about the length of the movie, because this time I had to watch 4 hours worth of film. So, Superman 2 infamously has 2 different cuts of the movie. It has the theatrical release, and then it has the 2006 Richard Donner cut, which includes a lot of the footage that he shot before he was fired from the film. In order to be fair, I watched both versions of the film, and I'm going to be talking about both of them here. Mostly I'm going to be following the theatrical version, but I am going to talk about the Richard Donner cut when it gets into major differences. Most of the comedy stuff didn't really bother me in this, and I'm not really sure why Richard Donner got kind of this, like, bug up his butt about it, because, like, this is a sequel to a movie about a real estate mogul trying to blow up California. So how serious was it gonna be? So we start things off in my favorite place, Krypton.
The planet Krypton.
On Krypton.
And we get a little bit of a backstory about what Zod and the gang did to get put into the Phantom Zone. This was set up in the first movie.
You will bow down before me! Both you, and then one day, your heirs!
And it turns out there's just like one Kryptonian guard in like a suit or something, and they just knock him out and then steal some sort of stick or something, and then immediately they're beamed to trial. I feel in this case they probably should have left some mystery there. They end up arrested in, like, the Bohemian Rhapsody music video.
Guilty, 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 guilty.
When have you ever seen a council of floating heads in any piece of media and it wasn't dumb as hell? It's a little bit obvious that they cut out Marlon Brando for this version. It's very strange to see the trial recapped, but without the incredible dump of information that Jor-El puts in there.
This is no careless product of wild imagination.
These indictments
To be charged of treason, with aim of sedition, of undeniable,
Pronounced judgment.
mindless aberration. Even the children of the planet Krypton, architect of this intended revolution and author of this insidious... You have heard the
You
evidence.
will bow down before me! Both you, and then one day, your heirs!
You 3 criminals have been caught in a further act of seditious treason.
Guilty, guilty, guilty.
You will bow down before me, Jor-El!
But I gotta say, folks, I know this is gonna be a controversial opinion, but because the theatrical cut doesn't have Jor-El, automatically superior. So they're banished to the Phantom Zone for their crimes against Krypton.
Krypton.
And they're put in this little box, and they zoom into space, and they fly across the credits in the recap of the first movie. Figures this would be a clip show. In the Richard Donner cut, they got to include Jor-El's exposition.
Your mother, Laura, has sent you 3 blankets, red, yellow, blue.
Both versions, however, decide to include the Kid Wang. It goes on for like 10 years. And it's like, not anything that we need to be reminded of. Hey guys, remember when Lois and Clark walked down a hall together? I mean, we're basically just watching a music video at this point. So when the movie actually starts, Lois is in Paris, where everyone speaks English.
The bomb, is it still in there?
She's trying to get the scoops on some terrorists that are doing some terrorist stuff. Clark doesn't know that she's there. He finds out from Perry, because apparently he just doesn't watch the news. And you would think, as Superman, he would be on top of this stuff. At the very least, you would think he'd be keeping tabs on the fact that Lois went to Paris to try and report on some terrorists. And Lois is like a magnet for unfortunate incidents, so of course, she's in a bunch of ding-dang trouble again. How long does it take Soups to get there? In the previous movie, he flew around the Earth so fast he reversed time. Was he taking a vacation? Now that I'm bringing it up, kinda undercuts the tension of the entire movie knowing that he can just reverse time whenever. Superman saves the day the only way he knows how, by throwing something into space. Somehow this explosion sets the Zod gang free from the Phantom Zone. I mean, is that what it is? Just a floating glass box with the capacity of 3? In space, everyone can hear you ham! Points to the Donner version. The missile that Lex Luthor was stealing was what sets them free in that one. And that kind of ties them both together a little more and cuts out the unnecessary Paris sequence.
A gang of terrorists seized the Eiffel Tower in Paris.
The first thing that these chuckle nuts do is land on the moon and encounter Paul Blart Space Astronaut.
Oh my god.
I mean, I know these guys are supposed to be super scary, but I can't take it seriously. It's so silly. I mean, all they seem to do through the first half of the movie is just meander until they encounter character actors and kick their asses.
Holy skunk sweat!
Look at them city folk, that's how they dress. I'm a dipshit. And there's just a bunch of stupid set pieces for them. They put their faces into Mount Rushmore, they scare young Mario, encounter lots of explosive barns. But they're not the only villains involved in this film. We also got Lex Luthor hanging out in comedy jail.
How did they choose to reward Lex Luthor? The greatest genius in this world?
I thought we were done with him, but apparently not. Why does he get an ascot with his prison uniform? He escapes prison via hologram? Where did he get the materials to make such a device? He's helped by the lady that betrayed him in the first movie. There's no mention of that. Also, why does no one notice a hot air balloon above the prison? This is, of course, so that she can lead him to the Fortress of Solitude by way of hot air balloon via alpha waves?
Alpha waves.
When they get there, depending on what version you watch, they get Exposition Mom or Exposition Dad. Love seeing Jor-El again. I can't wait to hear what he has to say.
The virtuous spirit has no need for thanks. Education Crystal 108. I think that I shall never see a poem as lovely as Krypton. Deviants had, of course, no death penalty. On Krypton, these villains were uncontrollable.
The thing is, Jor-El's a man of few words. Why's he gotta be a big floating head? Like, the mom didn't do that. Why's he gotta be such a drama queen?
This is really embarrassing.
I don't understand the purpose of this trip for Lex Luthor. I mean, essentially what he learns is the address and facts about Zod and the gang, which, luckily for him, they happen to go to Earth. Like, what would happen if they were never freed? Like, just coincidentally, this happens to be information included here, in case they should ever escape and then find their way to this one planet. And then he proceeds to disappear from the movie to the point that you forget that he's supposed to be part of it. Because he doesn't need to be part of it. Assistant lady is just gone. No explanation.
Tashmarker.
I found it!
It's a really rich character arc for her. Meanwhile, Lois and Clark are on an undercover mission at Niagara Falls pretending to be honeymooners. And let me just say, the suite, the Daily Planet was apparently paying out the ass for them. Was this necessary for whatever scoop they were going for? I kind of dig this place though. They got a skinned Muppet, lava lamp pillars. This is all to service the romantic arc going on with Lois and Clark, because finally, Lois is starting to maybe get the hint that Clark might be Superman. On the one hand, all of this is super obvious, so like, why wouldn't she notice? But on the other hand, you should probably have like a lead up or something, because it just seems to come out of nowhere. And there are some things that maybe should have been a clue to her before this starts coming into play. For instance, she sees him total a car. Not connecting any dots in her brain that maybe that's not normal.
This is really embarrassing.
The reasons for this being completely ludicrous are twofold. One, because Lois is kind of an idiot. And two, Clark's really, really bad at this.
Hi, Allison.
The thing is, putting on glasses apparently works on all of these dumbbells around him. But apparently the only thing saving Clark from certain death is just the fact that he has superpowers. He is just bumbling through this movie. He's getting hit by cars. He almost juices his thumb at one point. He falls into a fireplace, which is a plot point.
Gosh, it's alive.
You know what? Going to Earth saved his life. If he was still on Krypton, he'd be dead. He'd be winning the Kryptonian Darwin Award. Like, oh man, did you hear about Kal-El? Yeah. Blew himself up trying to get a raccoon out of a pipe.
Golly.
I'm a dipshit. Compound all of this with the fact that Lois is essentially a crazy person, and you just have a recipe for disaster. Lois decides to give Clark a little test. So in order to prove that he's Superman, she jumps into Niagara Falls. I'm a dipshit!
Oh my god.
I really think they improved this in the Richard Donner version though, because in that one she jumps off a building 15 minutes into the movie. I'm a dipshit! Really sets the tone quickly. Considering the opening credits and the recap are like 7 or 8 minutes long, not a lot of time for us to prepare for this.
This is really embarrassing.
You got a lot of really good reasons here why Lois would figure out that Clark is Superman. Number one, her investigative skills. Number two, because he loves her. Maybe he wants to tell her about his secret. Number three, a villain reveals it to her, and then the secret's out. You know, some big high stakes thing. But you know what happens here? He trips on a rug and falls into the fire? What?
Kind of an anticlimax.
Or, if you don't like that, she shoots him with blanks.
What?
He thinks she's gonna shoot him with a gun.
What?
I mean, these are kind of two sides of the same dumb coin, aren't they? A big part of this movie hinges on the fact that these two love each other. But why? The first movie, very romantic. The second one, I don't believe that these two aren't gonna kill each other at some point.
What? Oh my god.
Meanwhile, the Zod Gang have actually decided to start forwarding the plot, so they've taken over a small hick town. And Superman, of course, doesn't watch the news, so he's not aware of this. He's off having dinner with his girlfriend in the Fortress of Solitude.
I love her.
Moving a little fast there, Soups. But apparently there's some sort of, like, obscure rule that only applies to Clark, that Exposition Mom tells him about, that if he's gonna be with a mortal woman, then he has to live as a mortal.
You must live as a mortal.
Which is a little bit of weird wording, because they're not really immortal anyway. This makes a little more sense in the version with Jor-El. At the very least, it's played a lot better. The way that the mom words it makes it seem like there's some sort of like law about this on Krypton or something.
Krypton.
The way that Jor-El words it is basically, you know, you're gonna get people killed if you decide that you're gonna focus on this girlfriend over saving people. Which is kind of what's going on with the Zod Gang and him hanging out with Lois instead. And Clark has this great speech where he talks about the fact that he wants to be with Lois and he should be allowed to be selfish sometimes, is basically what he's saying, and it's a remarkably vulnerable and human moment. In the theatrical cut, apparently he just wants to get laid.
I'm gonna go change into something more comfortable.
I do have some complaints, though, about either version. First of all, Jor-El. Both of his parents are dead. Everyone on Krypton is dead, except for the Zod Gang, and then Supergirl, and I'm sure there's a bunch of other ones that you guys are gonna tell me about in the comments. Who's here to enforce this? They're basically just relying on the honor system here. I mean, these crystals are so dumb that they don't know the difference between Lex Luthor and Superman. So, I mean, how are they gonna know the difference? I mean, what if he just doesn't get in the chamber? What if he'd never gone to the Fortress of Solitude? Like, what was gonna happen then?
Once it is done, there is no return.
Once this is done, there's no going back.
He can never come back, but only in, like, a relative sense. I mean, you're not supposed to come back from the dead, but you won't leave him the hell alone. Can't have Lois in a Superman t-shirt. Reshoot. I know one thing for sure about Jor-El. He's smoking.
Listen carefully, my son. We shall never speak again.
Please and thank you. He says he's gonna leave like 1,000,000 times. Oh no, turning human changed his outfit. I'm a nerd full time now. They proceed to have sex in a giant beanbag.
This is really embarrassing.
How the hell did they get back from the Fortress of Solitude? Like, they had to have walked through the North Pole. Clark is a human? Kind of a condescending boyfriend.
Look, Clark, we can just...
Honey?
He immediately gets his ass kicked in a diner fight. And like, not just a normal ass kicking, like his face is beaten in.
Oh my god.
And this is all over like a seat when the entire row is empty. They could have just moved. I mean, yeah, I realize that guy was a dick, but he's Superman. Awful prideful, Clark. This is kind of a nitpick, but that bathroom trip was like 2 seconds. There's no way that he washed his hands. He only spends like a couple hours being mortal, and then he's gotta run back home to do his laundry. You suck, Clark. Can I have my powers back? Thanks. Anyway, I'm gonna date Lois with powers now, cause who's gonna stop me? Guess who you forgot about? It's Lex Luthor! Hey, it's me, real estate guy. Guess what I want?
Australia.
Everything that he tells the Zod gang, they could have figured out on their own. Every point of the movie that he's in could have just been rewritten with like a few lines and still made sense. It just lengthens things unnecessarily. Things have escalated to the point where aliens have taken over the White House. But everyone else is just sort of living their lives. Via Lex Luthor's tip, they go to the Daily Planet to call out Superman. He shows up and they have a showdown in Product Placement Square. Smoke up, Zod! Drink Coca-Cola!
The big one's just as strong as Superman.
Why are you so happy about that? And who the hell are you? This has got to be like a great show for all these bystanders though, because they're willing to risk their deaths just to get a good view of this action. Richard Donner had a problem with all of the comedy stuff added into this, and I can definitely see during these parts how it can be distracting. Some of these people are just walking around eating snacks. There's people on the phone, a guy on roller skates. The laughs just never start. At one point, they think that Superman is dead, so they're just gonna attack the aliens with like tennis rackets.
They killed Superman!
Let's go get him!
Yeah, that's gonna do it. I'm just gonna turn back time and kick your asses when you're looking at water or something. No fair cheating! This movie keeps on making up powers. I mean, I know some of it is in the comics, like it happened in like an issue during the Stupid Ages. I'm sure you're gonna tell me all about it. But look, it's just sort of dumb and things that we didn't see before, so they just sort of come out of nowhere. He throws a plastic S off of his chest. I don't know what that was about. So the machine that he uses to reverse his powers, sometime between when they have the fight in Metropolis and they go to the Fortress of Solitude, he has some time to reverse what it does and also repair it because it blew up. And he ends up depowering the Zod gang, and they don't notice this, which is kind of a discrepancy because when we saw Clark losing his powers, he was sort of screaming and turning inside out.
This is really embarrassing.
So now that they're dead, did Clark just leave Lex Luthor in the Fortress of Solitude to freeze to death? In the Richard Donner version, it has him destroy it. So did he just kill him? And then we get to a rather contentious part of the movie, and that is the amnesia kiss.
What's happening in the world?
I mean, no one's gonna enforce this power thing anymore. I mean, they're both gone, so... Clark gives Lois a kiss and then she forgets everything, thus undoing any development of the movie. I hate it. I hate that kind of thing. There's never a good mind-wiping storyline. It's always just either gonna undo things or piss people off. And there's just no reason for it. It's always kind of a skeevy and selfish thing, and I just, leaves a bad taste in my mouth. The Richard Donner cut does a different ending, with basically the same results, which is a little less skeevy, but still bad. And that one, he just reverses time again, which is just rehashing the same thing. I mean, reversing time just means he's just gotta do the whole movie over again. But I mean, he doesn't get with Lois this time, so what, is Jor-El back? Thanks? It's worse than the amnesia ending. It's worse. But they're both bad. They're both bad endings. He goes back to the diner to kick that guy's ass in both of them. But in the time reversal one, like, how does anyone in the diner know him at this point? He's basically just going to kick a stranger's ass.
This order's to go.
This is a blatant display, not only of his alien abilities, but a gross misuse of power. And it really says something that both the hero and the villains get into diner fights. And, it's kind of spiteful for Superman, isn't it? That's how they're gonna end things? Bullshit. So everything that I've heard about this is that Superman 2 is the best one. I don't know if you could tell from my review, but I kind of disagree. I realized I was very complainy in this. I didn't hate it, but I was very frustrated watching it, and I felt like there were a lot of things that didn't make sense. You could tell that it was a movie that had a lot of reshoots and was pieced together into something different. I think it suffered from too much plot-itis. There was a lot of things crammed in, a lot of it seemed made up on the spot and kind of nonsense. The amnesia plot is bad. No matter what version you go to, there are things that I don't like about it. And either way, like, the ending I thought was really terrible. But I am going to be positive about some things about this movie. I did think that the fights were better and that there were higher stakes. I do like that they were trying for some character development in it. I didn't like that they undid it, but what led up to it, I thought had some good stuff. Actually, I did like the Zod gang, and I thought like there were parts where they were genuine threats. And I feel like this is where the Richard Donner cut really shined. It showed them killing people more blatantly and played it a little more seriously. And especially the stuff with Lois and Clark's relationship. I didn't like seeing Jor-El again, but Clark was a lot more sincere and emotional and was allowed to be selfish in a way that made sense. And I really did enjoy that, and it made more sense why he would give up everything for this woman. I also thought the pacing was very improved in the Richard Donner cut. It cut out a lot of like random comedy asides that sort of just lengthened the movie for no reason. Some of it is a little bit abrupt, but for the most part, it felt less like 2 hours than the first cut did. Overall, I think Superman 1 was a lot better for Clark's character and for Lois's character, but the sequel had a lot better villains in it, so you just gotta pick pieces of it. I think the Richard Donner cut was the better cut of it, so if you're gonna watch one of them, that's probably the one to do it. But either way, they got their own sort of issues and their own sort of strengths. So I guess that means I'm off to Superman 3, widely regarded as one of the best ones. So see you guys next time. We're talking about Spider-Man 3.